Alright, this is starting chapter 4, which is about percents. Today we are doing 4.1, which is about percents and fractions. So we are going to start by defining what a percent is. So a percent is a value of a part-to-whole ratio where the whole is 100. So this means that the value just means a number. You evaluate, you find the number of a part-to-whole ratio. Part-to-whole ratio, that's a fancy way to say fraction. So we're taking a fraction, we're finding the value of that, and this fraction has denominator 100. So this means we can write a percent as a fraction with a denominator of 100. So that would look like, I'm going to put it in parentheses. So this fraction has a denominator of 100 and there is some number on top. To write a percent, we use this percent symbol, and that just means percent. So we say this symbol is used to denote, which means to write, a percent. So let's look at 40%. If I write that as a fraction, that's going to be 40 over 100, which means 40 out of 100. So let's do an example. We are going to write the percent as a fraction, in simplest form. We're also going to leave it as an improper fraction. We're not using mixed numbers. So, if I have 45%, I know my fraction has to have a denominator of 100, and I put this number, whatever the percent is, goes in the numerator. So this is 45 out of 100. Ends in a 5, ends in a 0. I know I can divide each of them by 5, and that leaves with 9 over 20. 9 and 20 do not have any common factors, so that is my answer. 920 is 45% written as a fraction in simplest form. Let's do another one. If I have 70%, I take my percent, write it in the top, denominator is 100. Both of these end in 0, so to reduce it, I'm going to divide by 10. If they both end in 0, and you're dividing by 10, you can just take off those last zeros. You could do the division, and that works as well. So this would be 7 over 10. 7 is prime, so I can't reduce this anymore. Now what if I had 100%? I'm still going to write whatever percent I'm given in the numerator. Denominator is still 100. And I have the same number on top and bottom. You could cancel the zeros, divide, it's the same. That's just going to be 1 over 1, which is 1. So I could have percents that are less than 100, percents that are 100, and I can have percents that are over 100. So if I have 125%, that's going to be 125 over 100. I can divide each of these by 5. I know that for sure. 125 divided by 5 is 25. 100 divided by 5 is 20. I know I can still reduce each of those by a factor of 5. And 20 divided by 5, or 25 divided by 5 is 5. And 20 divided by 5 is 4. 5 is a prime number, so I am done. So that's writing a percent as a fraction. To write a fraction as a percent, you write an equivalent fraction with denominator 100. So we're going to rewrite our fraction so that the denominator is 100. Then we write the numerator with a percent symbol on it. An equivalent fraction, that just means they have the same value. They mean the same thing. So, a couple examples. If I have 7 over 25, I need to write this so that the denominator is 100. 25 times 4 is 100. Multiply the denominator by 4, multiply the numerator by 4. Multiply straight across the top. 7 times 4 is 28. 25 times 4 is 100. So that means my percent is 28%. Let's do another one. If I have 3 over 10, to turn 10 into 100, you multiply by 10. Do the same to top and bottom, and you get 30 out of 100. So my percent, I take the numerator, put a percent symbol on the end. Let's do another one. If I have 220 out of 1,000, so now my denominator is larger than 100. I still need to make it so my denominator is 100. So to make 1,000 into 100, I'm going to divide by 10. When you divide a number by 10, that's the same as moving its decimal place over. I could cancel each of these last zeros, and that is dividing by 10 as well. So I get 22 over 100. My percent is 22%. What if I have 42 out of 1,000? That is going to be the same process, but 42 is smaller than 100, so it'll be a little different. Still going to divide by 10. If this were a 2,000, you would divide by 20 to end with 100 in the denominator. Now 42 divided by 10. If I take the decimal point, that's invisible right here, and move it to the left 1, that is dividing by 10. You could do the long division, but this is a little trick that will help you only for dividing by 10. So this would be 4.2. To write this as a percent, I take the numerator, 4.2, stick a percent symbol on the end. It is okay to have a decimal as a percent, or in your percent. That is okay. But we are not using mixed numbers. Okay, let's do one more example. So let's say there are 50 students in a class. Of those students, 27 are girls. What percent are girls? And then what percent of the remaining students are boys? All of the remaining students would be boys. So, what percent are girls? What percent are boys? So, I'm going to have 50 students in a class. That is my total. That goes in the denominator of my fraction. Of those students, 27 are girls. So I have 27 out of 50 are girls. I'm trying to find what percent that is. So, to turn 50 into 100, multiply by 2, and then multiply the top by 2. 27 times 2 is 54. 50 times 2 is 100. And that's good, that's what I wanted. Write this as a percent. 54% are girls. That's part of my answer. It asked what percent are girls and what percent are boys. So in this situation, the students that are not girls are boys. So to figure out how many students that is, I'm going to do 50 minus the number of girls, and I have 23 are boys. So that means 23 out of the total number of students are boys. To write this as a percent, I multiply by 2 to get a denominator 100. What you do to the denominator to change a fraction, you do to the numerator, so it stays equivalent. We do equal operations to each of them to make an equivalent fraction. Then I will have 46 out of 100. Write this as a percent. 46% are boys. So, what percent are girls? What percent are boys? I answered both questions. That's good. But let's check it. I want to make sure my total number of students adds up to the total number of students. So I'm going to take the number of girls and add that to the number of boys, and I get 50. That's good. 50 students total. My percents need to add up to 100. Percent means out of 100. So if I have two categories and they should equal 100 because there's no extra parts that are missing, it needs to add up to 100. And it does. So that is all we do. So that is 4.1 about percents and fractions.